Before jumping into the review, I would like to thank CSI Zone for sending this unit in for review. It has been a while since I have been interested in a budget set. I am very thankful for the opportunity to work with CSI Zone. In case you didn't know, CSI Zone has their own showroom where you can demo their collection of IEMs and many other sources. So, come on down to CSI Zone. Links in the description in case you want to check them out. Thank you so much for your continued support. And quoting Chronicle's words, support the people that supports me. The Bunny is the latest entry in the budget IEM market. The Bunny is perhaps somewhat similar to a certain IEM I've talked about some time ago. But instead of being made of metal, the Bunny is made entirely of plastic. The Bunny comes in two choices of flavor, USB-C, DSP, and 3.5mm jack. The one I got here is the DSP version. Perhaps in terms of versatility, this version might have gotten a nerf in that department, but it does have a trick up its sleeve, which I will talk about in a while. The unboxing experience is also somewhat similar to the mention for you. I'm not really sure if it is a good thing or a bad thing, but perhaps it could be a good thing for the Bunny, but bad for the for you. The difference is that the Bunny may have come pre-assembled, which is pretty good, since putting on and off the cables from the Bunny can be quite a nightmare. They also include a small pouch, like a for you. That is basically it. Perhaps the design and overall shape is somewhat similar to the for you. Maybe, by memory, the for you might be slightly better in terms of fitment, while the Bunny can be considered as small. In some smaller ears, the Bunny may hurt your ears. Prolonged listening session and maybe sleep sessions are perhaps not really recommended with the Bunny. As for me, the Bunny does interfere with the anti-tragus part of my ears, and thus put a lot of pressure that might not be good for the buttful. The Bunny might also be quite the opposite of the for you. As with the Bunny, the earbuds themselves are quite light, while the cable is quite thick and rigid, which is nice. I like that. While the for you, the earbuds are quite heavy and the cable is quite thin and light. The Tanchjim Bunny is surprisingly well tuned out of the box. Perhaps it is leaning towards a U-shaped tuning with a slight leaning towards warm on the upper mid-range vocals area. The bass is adequate and the treble is quite relaxed. Let's talk about it. The bass is definitely not for bass heads, but I think it is really good. It has enough mid-bass to give that satisfying punch, while the sub-bass gave that sense of rumble. It is not too much that it makes the experience sloppy, but it is definitely enough to give somewhat a correct sound. Perhaps that is it in terms of bass. At this price point, good clean bass is what I want. Perhaps it is just my taste, and for that, the Bunny delivers. The mids are quite clean overall, minimum bass bleed, and lush mids. The vocals seems to surprise me. It seems like the male vocals are warm, while the female vocals do have that extension to sound slightly sparkly. The overall tone is neutral warm. The weight is quite light, but not to the point of sounding thin. I think it is somewhat reasonable in evoking the emotions of listeners, while conveying the singer's emotions through vocals and lyrics. It is perhaps perfect for a lot of slower songs like jazz and classical genres, or if your taste is somewhat towards a more analog sound. The treble area might be perceived as bright, although for me it is not really that bright, and it is safe from unnatural peaks and sibilance. The treble also plays the part of giving the Bunny the clarity and airiness, if that is even a word, to both vocals and instruments. It is quite surprising as the Bunny is technically only has one dynamic driver on each side, being a budget IEM and has an overall pretty balanced sound. Perhaps in terms of sound staging, there isn't really a lot of depth, as in the recording, it seems like the presentation is rather flat or two-dimensional. The layering still does show up a little, but it is definitely not mind-blowing. Is it still enjoyable? Of course it is. Am I being too harsh on a $20-ish IEM? Maybe. While the technical performance might not be the strong suit of the Bunny, I am pretty sure that the tonality will still bring an enjoyable and fair experience for the price. Both the Tanchjim Bunny and the IgniteX might have somewhat a similar sound overall, but the IgniteX is noticeably a little bit bassier and the vocals are a little bit more forward. The vocals being a little bit more forward made the IgniteX a tad bit lighter in terms of weight, might be a little too thin, combined with the somewhat congested feeling of the IgniteX. I think the Bunny might be a lot more natural in the overall vocal presentation. Changing the cable to an analog cable will definitely make you lose that ability to EQ the Bunny using the Tanchjim app. Without DSP, the Bunny seems to have a slightly mild V-shaped tuning. Perhaps it does not change the sound as much, but compared to the default setting on the DSP cable, the Bunny seems to lean towards a more neutral U-shaped tuning. I think both with analog cable and DSP cable, the Bunny sounds amazing, especially if you are looking for a more mid-centric, natural sounding IEM. For me, perhaps I enjoyed the DSP cable version way better than the analog version, as it does came with an app that allows you to change how the Bunny sounds. The downside of going with this is perhaps your Bunny might be less versatile compared to the analog version. But the plus side, other than the mentioned app, is that you won't need a dongle to connect the Bunny to most modern phone or laptops. And overall, I think it is less of a hassle. Speaking of which, perhaps the competition for mobility and practicality is truly wireless earbuds. The SPIMs will definitely still lose in terms of practicality, as you are still tethered to your phone via a cable. It might get tangled up or snag between objects. The TWS, on the other hand, are completely wireless. For this point of view, the TWS will definitely be better for practicality. As for durability, perhaps both are as durable as the other. Just depends on how the person take care of them. But I think for longevity, the Bunny might win in this department. As if the cable broke, you could always buy a new cable, while the TWS does have batteries in it that will degrade over time. Not to mention, servicing TWS might be quite hard and costly. As for the sound, perhaps it is a matter of taste, but I rarely found any TWS that sounded somewhat decent in this price point. Last but definitely not least is the Tanchjim app. The Tanchjim app for me feels half-baked. Perhaps it is because technically it is still in development and it seems yet to be released. I find the UI still inconsistent and quite rough. I personally find them just okay to look at, but there are some details that could be a lot better, like the spacing between objects and the hierarchy. I also found some data inconsistency in the game EQ library. I could only wish that the release version would be a lot better, but other than that, I honestly find them not that bad, and I am quite hopeful that the release product would be a lot better. My concern about the Bunny is perhaps the build quality, as the earbuds themselves feels kinda thin and very light. The cables are also quite stiff. Personally, I prefer this over the 4U, But that is not the only concern I have with the cable, as the other concern is about the cable getting yellowed over time. The other concern I have about the Bunny is the included pouch. Well, technically it is fine because the Bunny is a budget IEM. The Tanchjim Bunny is the latest entry in the $30 budget IEM market. The one I got here is the USB-C DSP variant. The Bunny also comes in the usual 3.5mm cable. While technically they are still the same IEM, the DSP cable has an extra trick up its sleeve. The DSP seems to work with the Tanchjim app, which might still be in a work in progress at time of writing. The app does allow you to change the sound signature of the Bunny. From presets to custom EQ, the options are nearly limitless. The sound out of the box is rather neutral, brightish, with just enough bass. The sound staging might lack some depth, but it is quite wide and quite accurate. For the price of $20-ish, I think the Bunny is a rather good IEM to be considered, especially if you are in the market for a new IEM, new to IEMs, upgrading from the included USB-C earbuds, or just in the market for a USB-C DSP IEM. My nitpicks about the Bunny is perhaps the build quality, as the earbuds do feel thin and the cable seems like a great candidate to get yellowed over time. But it is technically $20, so I cannot really complain that much. As for the ratings, the Bunny gets an A- for tonality and a B for technicalities. That is it. That is my review of the Tanchjim Bunny. Huge shout out to CSI Zone for sending them in for review. Even if they did not send this for review, I will still highly recommend them for your audio products, as they have a wonderful service. Thank you so much, CSI Zone. Thank you, Om Data, and thank you all for watching. Have a great day.